You've clicked on this video because you want to become a more consistent tennis player. So what I'm going to do is show you 3 very simple exercises that are probably going to be a little bit different to what you're expecting, but if you work on them, it's going to help you to make less errors and be more consistent. So hopefully you find the video helpful. If you do, give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel before, much appreciated if you could do that as well. So you're probably expecting me to show you some kind of on-court drill for your forehand or backhand that's going to make you more consistent. But that's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you how to train and improve your visual system. And let me explain why. If you've been playing tennis for any length of time, you'll already have watched a ton of different videos, you'll have practiced various different drills on court, and you'll have got to a certain level of consistency. And now you're trying to find a way to break through. You've got to understand that it's very unlikely that me or any other coach can now show you something new that's suddenly going to give you a big leap in your level of consistency, because your level of consistency, the reason that you're making so many errors, comes down, yes, to your technique, but that comes down to your hand-to-eye coordination, and a big part of that is the eye part, the visual system function. Everything that you do on court depends on how well you can see. And if you think about the common reasons that players tend to make silly mistakes on court and make unforced errors, the first thing is going to be late preparation, and we're kind of going through them in order. So preparing late tends to lead to a lot of errors, and the reason that players prepare late is because they can't read the flight of the ball quickly enough. The next thing that tends to happen is players don't set up in the right position. They can get too close to the ball a lot of the time, or maybe they don't move forwards and recognize the short ball. Maybe they don't move back and allow the ball to drop in time, which again happens because players can't read the flight of the ball. The next thing that tends to go wrong for players is the timing isn't very good. A lot of players, they start their swing late, they end up hitting the ball late and getting jammed, and that prevents them from hitting the ball effectively and consistently. And that happens because players can't read the flight of the ball effectively. And then the final thing that tends to cause players to miss shots is not watching the ball through to contact, which again obviously comes down to how well your visual system is functioning. So if you want to significantly improve your level of consistency, you have to improve how your visual system functions so that you can then improve your level of hand-to-eye coordination. When it comes to visual skills in tennis, we've got a number of different categories of skills. We're not going to be able to work on them all here. What I'm going to be showing you is exercises that focus on your eye movements, because eye movements are the foundation of all other visual skills. The first one that we're going to do is a smooth pursuit exercise. So we're basically going to be tracking a target that's moving in a circle. I'm going to be using a pen and focusing on the pen tip because it's a little bit smaller, but if you can't see the tip of the pen clearly, you could just use your thumb and look at your thumbnail or something else of an appropriate size. Now when we do this exercise, we're going to be going relatively slowly, and we want to be keeping our head nice and still, and we also want to keep our range of motion small. So the head's going to stay still. I'm holding my chin just to give myself a cue to help me keep my head still. But then the range of motion is going to stay nice and small. So I'm not doing the biggest circle that I can because your eyes are only going to move so far. So we want to do a small range of motion, but really make sure that you're following the target as smoothly as you can. And when you do this, notice, are there any positions, so maybe when I go up and right or down and right, where the target becomes a little bit blurry, or is it equally as clear all the way around? You also want to notice if there's any positions where your head tries to move. So it's a good idea to record yourself like I am here, because often I find with players, they think they're doing a good job, but their head is following the target. But the exercise itself, really simple. And this is going to be activating the 6 different muscles that move your eyes in different directions, and it's going to be activating the different parts of the brain that coordinate and create and coordinate your eye movements. So it looks very simple, but a lot of players don't have amazing quality eye movements because people spend so much time looking down at screens and looking at phones, and that does the opposite of preparing your visual system for looking in different directions and playing tennis in the way that you probably want to. So that is a smooth pursuit eye circle. 3 to 5 circles in each direction is going to be a great starting point, but you can definitely increase the number of reps over time. So if you're enjoying this video so far and you'd like to learn more about how you can use brain-based training to become a better player, I'm holding a free live Neuro Tennis Challenge pretty soon. I'll place a link to it down in the description, or you can go to neurotennis.net/challenge to register. Now, our second exercise that we're going to work on is something called a near-far switch. We're going to be switching from looking at something that's up close to looking at something that's in the distance, because that's one of the most important things that we're going to have to do after every single shot. The way that we're going to practice it is like this. So I'm going to hold this pen at arm's length. I'm going to focus on the tip of the pen and I'm going to slowly bring it in. And I'm going to stop when I get to about 6 inches away. So I'm going to stop at this sort of distance. This is going to be my near target. And then I'm going to choose something. If you're at home, you can have something just at the other end of the room. Because I'm doing this out on court, this is ideal. I'm going to look at something that's at the other end of the court. So I'm just going to look at the number at the other end of the court. And I'm going to look at the near target and then switch. And I'm going to look at the far target. Then back to the near target, then to the far target, then to the near target, then to the far target. And hopefully you can see my eyes, but potentially I might be squinting a little bit because of the sun. But that's the exercise. And you want to make it wait until the thing that you're looking at is in full focus, or as full of focus as it can be, before you make the switch. So for me, I can do pretty much instantaneous switching between this near target and far target. But depending how your system's functioning, when you look at the near target, it might take a moment to come into focus. And especially when you switch and look at the far target, it might take maybe 1 or 2 moments and it kind of goes zoop, and like gloops in together before you can see what you're looking at clearly. So go as fast as you can, depending on how your system functions. And maybe 20 switches is a good starting point, but you can definitely build up 30, 40, 50 switches in one go. Now, a couple of words of kind of caution, not caution, but just words on what I've just said. In terms of how clear your target is, if you bring the target into there and it's blurry, because you can't see very well at this sort of distance, then it's going to be staying blurry. So when you switch back to this distance, you want to go to the same level of blurriness. So you can't expect it to suddenly magically clear up. But if you're like me, at this distance, it's crystal clear. When you switch back to it, you want to make sure it's crystal clear before you make the next switch. So hopefully that makes sense. And the same thing applies to the far target. And then the other thing to consider with this is, depending how your systems are functioning, when you bring this target in to about 6 inches, you might find that the tip of the pen splits in two. Because our eyes are like camera lenses, our brain's job is to bring them together in coordination. A lot of the time, players, one of the eyes isn't moving properly, so one of the eyes won't track in, and because of that, the tip of the pen is going to split in two. So if that's happening to you, then you just want to stop as far away as you can. So maybe I might have to go to that distance or that distance, but hopefully you'll be able to get it to 6 inches. And if you can't get it past 6 inches, then I definitely highly recommend coming to that workshop so I can talk a little bit more about what you might need to do to correct it. The third and final exercise we're going to be working on is going to be a little bit different. It's a vision training exercise, but it's also a training exercise for your balance system that lives in the inner ear. And your balance system's job is to detect movement of your head and to keep your eyes looking at the target as you move your head. So obviously, when you're playing tennis, having this system functioning really well is of utmost importance for everything that you do, but especially for ball tracking. So we're going to be working on a VOR, or vestibulo-ocular reflex exercise. So that's just the reflex that connects the balance system in the inner ear and tells your eyes what to do. So as I turn my head to the right, turn my head to the right, my eyes are going to go to the left. So I'm going to keep my eyes focused on the tip of the pen at all times. And notice the way I'm doing it. I'm going quickly out and then slowly back, quickly out and slowly back. And this is another one of those exercises where you want to make sure you're doing it properly. A lot of the time people, they kind of look away instead of keeping their eyes focused on it, and they think it's because they're forgetting to look at it. But the instructions are, you've got to focus on the tip of the pen while you're moving your head. If you keep on looking away when you're doing this, it's not because you're forgetting, it's because this system isn't working in the way that it should be working. So it's even more important that you practice it. But we're going to do that to the right. We're going to do it to the left, so slowly to the left, slowly back. We're going to do it up. We're going to do it down. We're going to go up and left, up and right, down and left, down and right. And again, maybe 5 repetitions in each of those 8 directions is going to be a nice little starting point in terms of putting a program together. As you can see, those exercises are very simple, but if you work on them regularly, they can be very helpful at improving your level of consistency when you play. But just keep in mind, this is training. It's not like a magic trick. If you go to the gym and you start working on leg strength, you don't suddenly move like Alcaraz around the court. And when you start to work on vision training exercises, you don't suddenly start having the level of consistency of Djokovic. It's a training process where you have to gradually improve how things function over time. And you can do these exercises as a warm-up before before you play to help switch your system on. They can be really effective that way, or you can add them to other exercises for more of a complete vision training program to improve how your systems are functioning. And if you would like to learn more about that, obviously I recommend coming to my Neuro Tennis Challenge that's going on pretty soon. Link will be in the description, or again, go to neurotennis.net/challenge. Now, in terms of these exercises, they are very safe, but depending how your system's functioning, you might feel a little bit funky when you try working on them. So I personally had a lot of concussions when I was younger, and I learned about brain-based training to rehab my concussions, but because I'd had concussions and my balance system wasn't functioning very well, when I started to look at stuff and turn my head in different directions, I felt a little bit dizzy. And that's okay, it's not a problem, but it should go away relatively quickly. If you feel dizzy for hours after doing this sort of exercise, then you definitely don't want to try and push through it and do more and more. I would go and get checked out by your doctor just to make sure that you're safe and cleared to do this type of training. But what I find is after I give these kind of words of caution to people, the vast majority of people don't notice anything and they're completely fine to do them. They might feel a little bit tired or a little bit funky for a moment, then things will calm down and they're good to go again. But just keep that in mind. This is training and people respond differently to various different types of training. Okay? If you have any questions about what I've covered in this video, leave them down below. Otherwise, thanks for watching and I'll catch you next time.